Now, most people like him, but
it's cool. We can still, we can agree to disagree. You don't have to like me. It's fine.
He's overcome alcohol issues and mental illness, even if he doesn't like that word.
See, when you overcame that challenge, I don't think you do overcome them. I think what you do is that you change your perspective and you learn new ways of coping.
It's comedian, actor, late-night talk show host Craig Ferguson on the pulse as he tours the country.
If you're coming to see me on this tour, you come to see me. You don't come to see anyone else. There isn't a support act. It's me. Somebody said, you got to have a support act. I'm like, no. I can just suck for the first 20 minutes. Everybody gets what they need.
Guys, and welcome back to The Pulse. As you know, we do this every Monday, talking to people who are doing big things in various fields, hearing their stories. Today is exciting, but it's actually a bit of a challenge. How do I interview somebody who, if you look at it, is better at my job than me? Like, we kind of sit down and talk to them about their achievements as a talk show host. Craig Ferguson is that guy as talk show host and actor and best-selling author and all good things, and apparently is also on the run doing the interview from the car. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you, Bill, and thank you for not revealing my location. I have a lot of different law enforcement agencies searching me at the moment. Let's just say I'm somewhere in the Ohio Turnpike area.
By the time we go ahead and air this, you go ahead and cover your tracks. You'll be all good.
Yeah, I'll be in Venezuela by then. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's tough to hide when you're kind of on tour, but we'll get to that in just a second. We all know where you're going to be, but it's true. All good. Starting with, we all try to kind of do a background with people. Yours is pretty extensive, but when people ask you to kind of start with that whole process of explaining how you got to where you are, is there a condensed version of that to start us off?
Yeah, I guess there's a very simple beginning of it is that in 1975, when I was 13, I went to a Blue Oyster Cult concert in Smithtown, Long Island. I smoked a joint, and here I am.
That's the really short version.
I suppose, I'm kind of an autodidact. I'm a high school dropout. I'm a kind of like I have an unusual trajectory. And so it's difficult to say what happened when. I was a drummer in rock and roll bands when I was 17, 18 years old, and I fell in with show business people that I wouldn't normally have met because I'm from a blue collar background. And that kind of led me into what I'm doing now. And I think when you say someone has an extensive background, I think what you're really saying is they're quite old. I think they're quite old because most of it is background.
So I believe that's what you heard. I don't think that's what I said. We're just talking about the whole, that means that they've had a lot of experiences. Nice. Both positive growth. They're mature and have experienced a lot of things in life.
You are very good at this. So let me tell you, I think that whole introduction about me being better at your job than you, that's not true. I think you're very, very good at this. I feel challenged.
And you're only saying that because you're on the run and don't want us to reveal your location. But okay, we will roll with that. Known for a lot of different things. You talked about, you started playing in a band. You obviously are known for late night TV, multiple television shows, comedy, of course. How do you define yourself? What do you want people to know you for?
I've been asked that a couple of times before, and I'll try and answer it honestly, which is I don't, it's not that I don't care. I just don't think it's for me to say how I'll be defined. How you define any other human being is how you define it. So if I'm a late night talk show host to you, then that's what I am. That's all you know. If I'm a drummer to you, then you're probably a group of about 15 people that saw me 30 years ago playing drums. But I try not to think about myself that much because I don't think that's a way to be happy. Was that deflecting the question? I'm really trying not to. I'm trying to be honest with it, but I don't define myself as anything. I do what's in front of me, and I I try to have a good time.
But I don't think it's deflecting the question. At the same time, it's unusual for somebody in the public eye to say, I don't necessarily like talking about myself that much. I don't necessarily, want to define myself a specific way. It's not the celebrity answer.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with the word celebrity as well, because I think that's a good word for like maybe cruises or like a cable package. But I think that the calling yourself a celebrity is a little weird, and I don't like it. It's like when people say they have followers. I think, well, you're not a prophet. You don't really have followers. I'm uncomfortable with the wording of it. I try and be egalitarian about myself as much as anyone else. So like if I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you, whether your job is big-timey movie actor or your job is working in the toll booth on the Ohio Turnpike. If I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you.
You don't seem like you're somebody who necessarily enjoyed the spotlight all that much. Like you were good at it, like you're doing these different things. And so it's been a career path for you. But it doesn't seem like that was like, I want to be on TV. Like that doesn't seem like what's motivating you.
No, it's not. I think if I'm honest, when I was a kid, I wanted what a lot of kids want, which is I want to be rich and famous. And I did okay, and I got a little bit famous, and it doesn't really mean much. And also, I think that if that's all you want, then what are you going to do once you get it? And I don't want that. I am a little uncomfortable in the spotlight as well. I find myself being a little evasive because I feel like I'm being asked to sell you something, and I really don't want to sell you anything, even down to selling you a ticket for a show. I'm like, if you don't want to come, don't come. It's cool. We can still, we can agree to disagree. You don't have to like me. It's fine.
Going to the kind of late night TV thing, 'cause that's what a lot of people know, at least one part of what a lot of people know. That presentation came across. Like, is it at all unusual to you that the just kind of comfortable sitting there talking to people, being really comfortable making it about them and not about you, was successful?
I think maybe it was because I didn't know anything about late night television when I started it, and I didn't know anything about it when I was doing it, and I still don't know anything about it. And for me, being a late night host is a bit like maybe the way a lot of people become realtors. That nobody sets out to be a realtor, but it's a decent job, and you get your picture on a bus stop. So why not? And I did it like that. Now, I loved the job. I loved doing it. But there came a point where I thought, it's not really what I want to do with the rest of my life. And it's a very corporate environment. It's a very corporate, very, I don't want to say restrictive, because it wasn't restrictive, but it was, there are rules. And I don't always do well with rules.
Look, we're not so bad that... Actually, yes, you're right. Well, thank you so much. That's a joke. I'm going to put it right up here, next to this thing that I can't tell you what it is.
When you were done, it seemed like you were kind of done. Like you were like, I'm good. I'm going to move on to the next stage of my life. And you were done with it, and pretty quietly, like, okay, I'm cool. Was that always the plan?
Yeah, there is no plan. I mean, I think that, man plans and God laughs. It's like there is no plan. There's like, what now? That's my plan. And I kind of, beyond a prudent kind of reserve emotionally and financially, I don't really have a plan. Like one of my best friends in show business and kind of a mentor for me was Betty White. And Betty was like maybe the first person I worked with. When I came to the United States, I was in my early 30s. I think she was in her early 70s. But we became great friends. And she always had such an amazing enthusiasm for what she did. And that's, I think, partially why she lived such a long and healthy life is that she loved what she did. She loved it. She was enthusiastic. And that's what I want. I mean, if it's just about money, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like money as much as anybody, but it can't all be about the money.
You've been very open about some of the challenges that you faced throughout the early part of your life, even really pre-career, I guess, in quotes. And they were serious. Like, there were some addiction challenges. You've been open about some mental health challenges. Do you think that overcoming that changed your perspective? Was it just that, you needed a different outlook, or was that always kind of you?
I feel quite lucky to be in such an identifiable, process. For a lot of people, their mental health challenges are, we don't really know how to help you get better. And so you try different things. I quite like the way people are open now. Not quite like, I very much like the way that people are open about mental health now. And it doesn't seem to have the same shame attached to it as before. It is what it is. It's about, how do you get the help that you need? I was lucky. I really was lucky, I think, in that I was very clearly someone who had a problem with alcohol. But I don't think you used a word there, which I kind of, it pings with me when people say when you overcame that challenge. I don't think you do overcome them. I think what you do is that you change your perspective and you learn new ways of coping. It's like when people say, when did you conquer your fear of A, B, C, or D? Like, well, I didn't conquer my fear. I learned to cope. I learned to embrace it. I learned to do something different with it.
Do you regret at all how open? I mean, people know that you were battling mental health, had challenges with potential suicide, alcoholism, and how bad it got. And you were very much in the public eye. Happy that people know that and you can share that message, or ever have questions like, maybe I shared a little too much?
Maybe this is an age thing, but, if you don't, I don't really have a problem about who I am. I don't apologize for it. I don't regret it, I guess is the short answer. I don't regret it. I'm quite comfortable with it. No, I don't regret being open about it. I feel quite sanguine about that. And the older you get, I think the more you kind of go, look, this is who I am.
And going to be for a while, like going to be through October, going a lot of different places. I'm in Philly, but we air all over the country, so people can check you out. You'll be in Philly September 9th. But why? Why do you want to get back out and start doing this again?
I don't know if you noticed, but the last couple of years, things have been kind of quiet in the going out world. It's just road tripping. No planes, no buses, nothing fancy, no entourage.
You guys are legit just road tripping and showing up and doing shows.
Because all the other stuff is just, distraction. And I've done it. I'm not saying I haven't done it. Of course I've done it. But this is the best way. I mean, it's because what I love to do is the job. And the job is being on stage and doing stand-up. I love doing that. And I worked as a musician. If you play an instrument, you can join an orchestra. You can play in big fancy things. You can do all that stuff. But really what you do is you play the instrument. And there's nothing to beat just playing the instrument. And that's what I do when I go and do stand-up. It's what I do.
It sounds like you're kind of getting in the car and just going. So are there sets everywhere you go? Or are you just telling the story of the road trip? Like, what are we going to get when we come see the show?
Obviously I have. I think it would be disrespectful to not at least have some, material for the audience. But, life happens on the road and stuff happens. So if anything happens to me that day and I want to talk to the audience, but I will, because I don't have to run it by the producer or the director or my boss or it's me. So if you're coming to see me on this tour, you're coming to see me. You're not coming to see anyone else. You're not even coming to see a support act. There isn't a support act. It's me. Somebody said, you got to have a support act. I'm like, no. I can just suck for the first 20 minutes and charge myself $1,000 a show. And then that way, everybody gets what they need.
So why pay somebody else to suck for the first 20 minutes?
Right.
Go ahead and it makes sense.
I can do it.
Yeah, that's a smart business decision. I'd imagine.
That's it.
You go ahead and roll with it.
That's
Great
You
trip.
were robbed?
Yes, our whole train was robbed
By outlaws?
by Italian train thieves. They actually.
This is the greatest story I've ever heard.
Obviously had tremendous level of success here in the United States. Talk show host as well as comedian. There's a lot to discuss and a lot of perspectives from people outside of the country and how they're viewing what goes on in the United States. I'm curious at your take as I guess an inside outsider.
Look, I'm a human being. I have opinions about things, but you don't necessarily have to know them all the time, especially if I'm just trying to make you laugh. You don't have to agree with me on anything. It's not important.
So that's interesting from two perspectives. One, the talk show host background, but also the comedian, because it seems like, again, in society, we're going the exact opposite direction of what you want. Everyone wants everybody to know what they think about everything. And then we kind of dig in and we hate each other because we disagree on it. You're going the exact opposite direction. It's like almost like the Unity comedy tour.
You're just saying it's not necessary for you to know what I think. Will enrage somebody, but you can't make everybody happy.
One of the things I didn't want to do with this show when we decided to launch it was to make it another show where we're just arguing with people. Like I just didn't want to do that. Yeah. But that's what's selling these days.
Well, that's okay. You can buy it or not buy it. I mean, the thing is, like I say, if you don't want to buy into anything I'm saying, it's okay. You don't have to agree with me. It's not that I don't care. You're entitled to your opinion, but and I might change my mind about something. It's kind of another thing that worries me. It's like if I might go something, and then I hear some information, and I go, oh, wait a minute, maybe I was wrong. I like to think about things that are important, and it's not necessarily. Does everybody have to comment on everything all the time? I guess. I just hate getting dragged into everybody else's argument. It's like when my mom and dad would argue, I'd go to my room. So that's what I want to do. I'm going to my room. If you guys, once you figure it out, I'll come downstairs.
Isn't it insane that I reserve the right to adjust my opinion based on having more information has now somehow become a radical thought process?
Yeah, no, I kind of do it all the time. Because Winston Churchill said, if you feel the same way at 50 as you did when you were 20, you've wasted 30 years of your life. I went, oh, that's interesting. Of course, I didn't agree with Winston Churchill about a lot of things, but he had some good points as well.
That's right.
I don't know, what can you do?
You like that quote. You're allowed to do that. What do you say to people who are trying to break into the numerous fields that you've been in?
Well, I don't do it the way I did it because I've just been kind of lucky. I kind of stumbled, from one place to the next. And I honestly mean that. I think what I have done is I've tried to listen to people who do that. And I think if you're trying to break into anything, find someone that knows, like driving a truck, find someone who knows how to do it, ask them the question, and then listen.
We also end the Pulse with a concept of use your voice for good. That's how we try to end every show. And I don't know, like you have a lot of that kind of giving people information and making people laugh. But is there a specific either initiative or advice that you give to people when you hear the statement, use your voice for good?
It's too big a concept because people will say, well, what's good? Some people's idea of good is different to other people's idea of good. And don't be an maybe that. I don't know.
That may be as right to the point, simple an answer as we've gotten so far.
I'm not the same as everybody else. Neither are you. Neither is he, she, or they. I mean, it is what it is.
Final word. Earlier on, you were like, if people don't necessarily like my show, they don't have to come. We're going to give a chance to give. We'll leave with the reasons why they should, both here in Philly on the 9th, but really all over the country for the next 2 months.
Well, I should give them a reason why they should come.
That was kind of where I was going with that, but yeah.
No, I can't do that because I don't know you. I don't know what you like. if you like me, that'd probably be a good idea. And if you're on the fence about me, err on the side of caution and don't bother. That's what I would do. But, maybe you might feel differently.
It was kind of cool hearing his experiences, both the stories that he shared, but also kind of the matter of fact, I'm going to do the things that I enjoy, and hopefully people will like it. And if they don't, that's okay too. He's been through a lot, and it seems like it has led to a really good perspective on life. Remember, if you would like to hear the entire interview, you can download the podcast any place where podcasts are available. Make sure you subscribe and get the information that you need whenever it comes out on a Monday. But most important, as I always say, whenever you can, use your voice for good and have a good one.